Welcome to the Disconnection Podcast. My name is Kyle Nielsen, and I'll be your host for today's show. Today we have Jennifer Cherney joining us. Jennifer, please, how are you doing today?
Well, thank you for having me, Kyle. I'm doing very well.
Thank you for joining me finally. It took a while to get us together, but I'm happy that we are.
Yeah, me too.
So let's start off with, we met back in October of 2016.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to challenge you. I think it was November.
Okay.
I do. I think it was November 5th. I don't know why, but.
All right. I think you could be right, but we'll figure it out later.
Okay. All right. I'll let it slide.
We met in late 2016.
Correct.
And we met at a DAPL protest.
Correct.
So for those who don't know, DAPL is the Dakota Access Pipeline, and it was on the Standing Rock Reservation where a large protest in the north part of South Dakota was happening. So let's start off with, you organized that protest.
I did.
It was a protest and a demonstration for solidarity for the Native Americans. Where did your interest in Native Americans stem from?
So my interest really stemmed when I was in high school. I read Black Elk Speaks, and it really resonated with me, and I started reading a lot about Native Americans and kind of became obsessed a little bit with their culture. And then when I was getting my master's, I wrote my thesis on Native American literature and the role of the trickster.
Okay.
And so from that point on, really, I became invested in really the absolute disservice I feel like this country does to Native Americans. And when the whole DAPL thing came up, I had been invited to go to a protest, wasn't able to go, and I didn't see any other ones happening in the city. So I was like, you know what, let me just try to organize one in Washington Square Park, right?
Yeah.
And maybe like 10 people will show up. No. So I put something on Facebook, and it just took off. And so I went with my dad. My dad and I showed up, and there was probably, when we first arrived, maybe 50 people. And then it kept growing and growing and growing. We didn't have a permit.
Wow. Are you supposed to get them?
Yes.
Do you know how to
yes,
get them?
A cop came over and was like, who organized this? You need to get a permit from the city.
No
and I was
way.
like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Not me.
Just trying to, show that we stand for this cause. And
Absolutely
I didn't
right.
know you had to get a permit, but I guess you do.
You do. Well, I think it's with a certain amount of people you need one, maybe.
Okay, that makes sense.
I didn't expect the turnout. But it was incredible. It was really incredible.
How many people do you think showed up?
I don't know, because the park itself, I feel like there were a lot of people like just observing, and I don't know how many people were actually fully invested in it or just curious.
It was a nice day too.
It was a beautiful day. Yeah. I don't know, over 100 for sure, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really
Definitely.
amazing.
I think over 100 showed up to hear about what was going on, and I think, I don't know, onlookers, way more than that.
Right.
Way more.
So you organized this protest, and your interest stemmed from you having a master's, or you wrote your dissertation, right? Am I saying that right?
No, master's thesis.
A master's thesis, excuse me. So you wrote your master's thesis. How much history do you actually know about the Native Americans?
A lot. I'm not adept at talking about one particular tribe. Mm-hmm. There's over 500 tribes. So, but a lot about the spirituality.
And their religion as well?
Yeah, I think I can talk to. I wouldn't call it a religion.
Okay.
I wouldn't. No, I think it's more of maybe a religion of nature,
right?
So to speak. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they believe the earth is the mother and the sun is the father, right?
Right. And I think like the whole, to me, the ghost dance thing really resonates with me too.
What is the ghost
dance? So in Native American culture, a ghost dance is when you call upon your ancestors, and they do this with this dance, and there's 7 points in a circle. It's the northeast, southwest, up, down, and inner.
Okay.
And in Native American culture, like, a ghost is not a good thing. It's not at all a good thing. But with this ghost dance, it was a way for them to call upon their ancestors to help them with whatever was going on at the moment.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, is there any other dances or rituals that resonated with you?
Not really. There are so many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone to like so many powwows and...
And do they differ from tribe to tribe as well?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Are they like sects of Christianity, like Mormonism or Protestant and Catholic? They differ like that?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And I think that there's subtle nuances between them, just as like with Christianity, there's subtle nuances between Catholicism or, you know what I mean? So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, but we digress.
Yeah,
All right.
sorry.
So back to the protest. So
Yeah.
me and my friends were at the time, we were planning on going out to
Yes.
Standing Rock.
I was so jealous. I was so jealous. I wanted to go so
we were
bad.
walking into, walking in blind almost. I mean, we got a little bit of information from some people that were at the protest, luckily.
Yeah.
And they said,
I
hey,
worried
bring
about you
this,
guys.
bring food, bring supplies.
Yep.
When we actually went, it was overwhelming, the amount of emotions that you felt coming into the camp. There was security patrols on the borders that were letting people in, and they were saying, what are you here for? Why are you here? And it had happened recently that when we did go in mid-November, that there had been, I guess we could call them contractors, who had infiltrated the site and were instigating and being aggressors on the protester side.
Right.
So they were very cautious of who they were letting in and who they would let up to the protest line.
Yep.
So while we were there, we didn't actually go up to the protest line. We weren't there long enough for them to say, okay, we trust you. So we stayed in camp. We helped with food supplies, organizing, cleaning, building, gathering firewood. They were preparing for winter.
That's amazing, by the way.
Yeah,
it's amazing that you did that. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean,
it wasn't even that much, though. We were only there 3 days. And
but
you can only do so much for a camp that is setting up for a winter.
It's not an easy place to get to. It
definitely wasn't, and I had a really bad car. so it broke down on the way back.
No way.
It was the worst.
Oh, my God. It was a situation that was, at the time, dangerous. I mean, you didn't know what you were walking into. You're not a Native American.
No.
That too. There's so much involved in that. And the fact that you guys were like, you know what? We're going.
Yeah.
We're going to help, even if we just get to the border and we can do anything to help.
We didn't know. Yeah. And while we were driving out, they were saying, "Oh, the roads are now blocked off and they're not letting anyone in." And we were like, "Shit! Did we just drive 20 hours to not get let in?" Luckily, we did get in. There was a roadblock there, and we just drove around it. But
I think it's so cool that you did. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's so blatant how horrific that whole situation was, and you were just like, you know what? We're going to do something. I'm not just going to watch this on TV. You'd actually be surprised at how many people were like, what's going on?
Right.
I don't even know. I mean, there's a pipeline right now that's being like in Louisiana. It's nonstop. It's happening all the time.
Let's talk about the pipeline. Okay. So DAPL itself, the Dakota Access Pipeline.
Yes.
So when we went out there, it was currently on hold because the election had just happened. Trump, right before we went out, was elected president. And at the time before that, leading up to that, the Obama administration had said, hey, let's hold off.
Right.
We're not going to do anything, which honestly was just laying it off onto whoever the next president was saying, like, we're not going to make a decision right now and let it fall onto whoever else. Smart move.
I think that you and I talked about this.
Yes.
Did we?
Yeah,
Okay.
I
remember that kind of on video. Yeah, because everyone was like, oh, Obama, he's
not really making a decision.
He's actually just pushed it off.
Yeah.
Which pissed me off, but okay.
So DAPL itself, okay? Mm-hmm. So some of the information that I was able to find, as well as just current events and the timeline of what went on. Right. So the DAPL project ran through 4 different states. It ran through North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and Illinois.
Yep.
And it connected to another pipeline that was called
Keystone.
Keystone? Was it the Keystone?
So, yeah.
Okay.
And that was from Canada to Texas.
No, that was a different one. That was Keystone Pipeline is a different pipeline.
Oh, than the one that it was connected to?
Right,
yes, you're right. What was it?
It was the Energy Transfer Partners. Okay?
That's DAPL. Yeah.
Right. That was DAPL. The Army Corps of Engineers was there.
Transatlantic Canada was the Keystone XL. But you are right. There was another. I'm not sure if it was a Keystone, but they were plugging into an existing pipeline. And they could have done it in such a way that it wouldn't have gone through as straight through as they had planned it.
Right. There was an existing pipeline, correct. That was not as deep, and DAPL was supposed to go deeper into the ground in order to ensure the safety of the crude oil that was being pumped through.
Correct. Yep.
Right. So the jobs that were created, right? That's a big point, okay, to go from. The job creation of the building of the pipeline, it was about, let's see, 12,000 to 42,000 jobs. And the people who
depending on who you talk to.
Depending on who you talk to. So if you talk to Dakota Access LLC, you get the 12,000. If you talk to TransCanada, which was a holder of DAPL, they said 42,000.
Right.
So of all of those jobs,
50 would have been full-time.
Temporary.
No, 50 of them would have been full-time.
Right. Everything else is temporary.
Right.
So I got the numbers for Iowa.
Yeah, what was it?
In one of the 4 states, there was 12 to 15 permanent jobs. Okay. And in the state of Iowa, 2,000 to 4,000 temporary jobs. So we're talking about a mass amount of jobs that are created very, very quickly and then completely disappear.
Away. So what happens to those people after the job is completed?
They have to go find another pipeline to work on, right?
But they need water to survive. Are they living in that area?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know.
So are you, in effect, potentially poisoning the people that actually laid the pipe? I don't know. It's crazy.
Part of the argument for this pipeline creation was that the pipeline wasn't actually going on any part of the Sioux reservation. It was right above it. But part of the treaties that are signed for Native Americans, one of them was Winters versus Washington. Am I right to say that?
I'm not sure.
Land rights. No, Winters versus U.S. in 1908.
Okay.
So we were talking about it before we started recording, that a lot of the things that America has done for the Native Americans has really been not in their interest at all. It's, we're going to give you this and then we're going to take it away. We're going to give you this.
Perpetuation of a genocide.
Right.
Constantly. Constantly.
Part of the Winters versus U.S. Treaty was that if there is anything ambiguous in a treaty as to what land you own, what water you own, the Winters versus United States Treaty says that the water is included. So that treaty says that water
from the Missouri River
that runs down into their reservation is a part of their land. And it's just one of the many treaties that they just brushed aside, right? Mm-hmm. It's part of the argument that's for the pipeline, as well as against it when you talk about the treaty itself. So another part of the pipeline is, well, how much is actually spilling? So do you know, or are you aware of the spillage that has happened so far? Because there has been.
Absolutely. But they're saying that it is so minute and so contained as to be inconsequential.
So
and when I say they,
who is that?
So they is Energy Transfer Partners. So, I just read this article in Forbes and, there's a little disclaimer, the author of the article says that, I have to disclose at one time I was working for, one of these oil companies. And I'm like, okay, well, he needs to legally disclose that.
Yeah.
But the entire article was basically saying, there's nothing environmentally wrong about this. This is the most effective way. The train transportation is so much more dangerous. And
it is.
It is fair enough. But I think it speaks to our dependence on fossil fuels, right?
Yes, absolutely.
At the end of the day, that's what it's about.
You're completely correct.
Environmentally. On the other side, it is, again, I think the perpetuation of this genocide of the Native American people. It's like now we're going to poison their water. I mean, what more can we, what more can people do to disenfranchise the people?
You're right.
And there's not the outrage that there should be.
Because it's not happening in their backyards, right?
It's not.
That's when the outrage happens.
Yeah.
It's when you have that oil spill in your little hometown and you go, oh shit, I can't go outside anymore. I can't play in the grass. I get sick when I'm outside for 20 minutes because I'm breathing in all these toxic fumes.
And this happens.
It does.
Hello, Flint.
Yeah, that's right.
This happens.
It does. And even with Flint, there's not many people that are still outraged. No. They don't have clean water still.
But there's not that many people anymore that talk about DAPL, right?
This is true. So I wanted to talk about the spills. So DAPL has had 5 spills in 2017. Okay. 5 spills. No, don't freak out. They weren't that big, right?
Okay.
No, but they actually weren't. They really weren't. So we have 5 spills. The first one was 84 gallons.
Okay.
it sounds like a decent amount. I also wouldn't want 84 gallons to be poured into anything.
No.
Right? Okay.
But that's that's a very small number when you think, I believe the number is like 500,000 gallons are pumped every day.
It's 600. Yeah. 600 gallons, 600,000
challenging me. Look at this.
gallons pumped
That's
every
what I
day.
do.
So of the 5 spills, we had 84, 20, 84, 21, and the biggest one on DAPL was 168 gallons. So those are very, very small amounts.
Very small, but still.
But still, the biggest was the 168, and that was at the end point of DAPL, and that was in Patoka, Illinois. Jesus.
Okay.
Patoka, Illinois. So...
and your listeners know that you've got notes here, right?
Yeah. Oh no, I am definitely
It's
looking at notes.
Encyclopedic knowledge.
No way do I know this off the top of my head. Absolutely.
No, but you're speaking to it without looking, kind of.
Thanks. I appreciate that. To an extent, right? I got my freaking hand down on the paper.
Using your fingers to read.
That's not really that much. However, there is a technology on DAPL that allows it to see. Now, all of those spills were on concrete sites. Mm-hmm. So that means that they happened at points where maybe the pipeline was turning, or, I'm not really sure on the exact construction methods of it.
Right. But there are people able to see
who saw it. Correct, who saw it.
But there are parts of that pipe that people don't not see.
And part of the safety is that they have a leak technology. However, the leak technology can only secure and be and alert someone if it's over 2% of the daily. So we were talking about how much they ship, right?
Yep.
600,000 gallons a day. 2% is 12,000. So 12,000 at a point where someone's not noticing could be spilled before anyone notices. That sounds horrific. I would prefer not to have that. Now, at the same time, right?
Yes, I think that everyone would concur.
Now, at the same time, nobody talks about like tankers rolling over and spilling. We said that trains are a horrible way of transporting. But what about just 18-wheeler, 24-wheeler tankers that are rolling around? Do you know the most recent one that was that spilled?
No.
It happened in New Jersey in May.
No way.
Yeah.
See?
8,500 gallons of gasoline was spilled. But you don't hear about it, right?
No, I did not hear about that.
Because there's not a protest. But I'm not saying that I'm okay with it. But why isn't there someone out there going, what are the safety precautions on making sure that these drivers are sleeping enough, are not running into ditches and spilling this fluid?
Because those people are expendable. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're transporting the oil. The oil is giving somebody somewhere a lot of money. Right. And that's all that matters. That is all that matters.
It is, and
it's a hard battle.
Part of that goes into we're dependent on fossil fuels, right?
Right.
So why wasn't this $3 billion for this pipeline spent on renewable energy? Why?
Well, look at the people that are in charge. This is a dangerous conversation. But I think you could only, if you dig a little deep into this, it's far-reaching. The oil companies have a huge grip on the economy and the government.
Wouldn't it make sense? Like, this is something that I always think about. Wouldn't it make sense? Let's say that let's hypothetically say global warming is not occurring, right? We are not global warming experts. I'm not a scientist. I don't think you are.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Let's say that it's not occurring and we're all crazy. We're just crazy monkeys that don't know what's happening and we're just freaking out.
Okay.
There is a new technology that enables us to not
be dependent
on drilling into a ground, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe we have to drill for some of the metals. It's a little bit different, but we would have to drill for those metals anyway to make containers that carry the oil, right?
Right, exactly.
So let's just get the metals anyway, right? We have this new technology that's allowing us to supply ourselves and be independent of conglomerates, right?
And people are doing this.
Yeah.
And making money doing it.
But why aren't the conglomerates going, hey, let's just flip this? Everyone seems to be doing it. It's like a trend, right? Mm-hmm. Why not just go with the trend? If there's a fashion trend, people change, styles change.
Right.
So why aren't they changing? Why are we being forced back?
Because I think that there is a power that is greater than the money that's going to be, or at least they think that renewable energy, it's not profitable enough.
And it won't hold.
It won't hold.
I mean, I would disagree with them.
I think a lot of people would disagree with them.
Yeah.
You know, and I think maybe and I'm sure that most that are knowledgeable about what energy is and how it's used would say the same thing. Those are the same people, though, that will be profiting off of the production of crude oil. That's it. It really, I'm so sorry to tell you this,
no,
but
it's
it is
okay.
all about money.
It is. I'm with you on that.
And power.
And power. You're right.
Which honestly mean nothing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole other talk, but.
I mean, it is, and at the same time, it's something that's not talked about, right?
It's
so
not,
so
'cause
climate,
it's uncomfortable.
It is. A lot of things like religion or politics in general, or key points in politics like abortion or climate change. They're very sensitive topics that people are like, I don't want to talk about that. But unless you talk about them, unless you exchange ideas, you're never going to be able to learn anything.
Yeah.
So
I think you and I are like-minded, but if we weren't, I would still talk to you.
Oh, thanks.
I mean,
appreciate that.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's important to talk to people that have differing views or differing opinions. That's part of the reason why I did the rally, too. There were a lot of people there that I talked to that had no flipping clue what DAPL was at all. They're like, what the hell is this? Like, what are you know, it's a beautiful day in the park and you guys are ruining it with your signs. I was like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Do you know what's going on here?
Yeah. I hope they weren't thinking that.
There were people that were like that for sure, but I would say that was 10% of the people, and 90% of the people there, I don't know if you felt it or not, but I thought there was such an incredible positive energy there. Really. I thought it was a great day.
How do you motivate someone to stand up for an idea? How do you cultivate that, let's call it a fire, right? For them to want to go and do something?
Well, number one, I can't do that for you. You have to have an innate passion for something. Otherwise, you're not going to put your heart and soul into it. And if you're not going to put your heart and soul into it, then why bother? I think for someone like me, information to people sometimes can ignite a spark, and they might, then really start a fire with it if they're interested. That's all I can do is kind of give them the pathway to something by talking about it. But you do need to be passionate about something. We talked about, I did this A Year of Wishes blog. And each month I was devoting to a different nonprofit. And there are definitely months that I did things that I was like, like this is a very worthy cause, but it's not my thing.
Can you explain what A Year of Wishes is?
Sure. It was a blog that I started, and each month I devoted myself to a different nonprofit. So one month it was Native Americans, another month it was ocean conservation, another month it was African Americans. I did one with, I was living in Florida at the time.
Okay.
And there was a youth.
Hey, Florida.
We both hate Florida. Sorry, Floridians.
No offense to Floridians.
Sunny there. It just reminded me the ocean conservation thing when I was there. It was a good place to be. And that here I am in Palm Beach, right, island, which is one of the wealthiest zip codes in the country. And I'm walking on the beach, and I'm like, this is there was so much trash every day for weeks. I would go for an hour and just pick garbage up.
Wow.
It was horrifying.
You'd fill bags at that point.
Oh,
bags.
Hour,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was, the things that were coming out of the ocean. And, Florida, the ocean is kind of nice.
It is, yeah. It's really nice compared to here in New York, New Jersey.
So you can imagine my disgust. I was like, wow. You would see these enormous mansions. These people are billionaires. And right on the beach outside of their homes is, like plastic bottles and shoes and shampoo. It was just disgusting. Anyway.
That's actually even surprising that they would have that.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they hire someone?
Sorry, it was the off season. Oh. So these people are there probably the most a couple of weeks of the year.
Have a cleaning crew come in and clean up their beach before they show up.
I wish they had. It was just me.
Wow.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
You're motivated intrinsically to want to go and clean up that and to create a protest and a demonstration. And if you're just providing information to someone who may have, some desire to do something in general, in a general sense, what do you blast information around, or is it just a continual conversation that you're constantly talking
to people? Constantly. Yeah. I mean, I think I hope that I've gotten people to become invested in different nonprofits through just talking to them about different things. There's a lot of things that people have no idea about. I was really passionate about the Dolphin Project. I don't know if you know.
I don't know what the Dolphin Project is, no.
Okay, so there's this guy named Rick O'Barry who is such a cool dude, but he...
Sounds cool. Sounds like a surfer.
He definitely is.
Nice,
he definitely
nice.
is, I'm sure. He's probably in his 70s now.
Okay.
But he was a trainer at SeaWorld, and I can't remember now what dolphin he was training, but he saw the impact of keeping the dolphins like locked up and encased in these like small little aquariums for the pleasure of
us,
the SeaWorld people. Yeah. And I think it was Flipper, and the dolphin died in his arms. Whoa. And from that moment on, he was like such a huge advocate, and it still is today, for dolphin conservation. And so he'll go all over the world to help like the capture slaughter of dolphins. He's been in Taiji, Japan. He was arrested, I think it was 2 years ago. Because what they do there is they will slaughter the dolphin for meat, and then they'll take the ones that are good looking or like young and bring them to aquariums.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting.
Like really interesting stuff.
Do you think, or do you know if dolphins are sold like worldwide?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Would they take some,
they're a commodity for sure, especially in Japan. I mean, they
like take a Japanese, I'm calling it a Japanese, dolphin from the sea around Japan, from the oceans around there, and like ship it somewhere to Europe, for example?
I don't know if they, likely, yeah, they will. They'll ship them to different aquariums.
So the reason I ask that, I was recently on a trip in Valencia, and we went to their SeaWorld. It's very, very large. And one of the first things that we went into was their dolphin show. And I'm thinking walking up, oh, sweet, dolphins. The moment I sat down and saw the dolphins, I was like, oh, my God, I want to release these creatures. They are beautiful, and they're intelligent.
They do not belong in cages.
They do not belong in that tiny pool.
They're extremely intelligent. I believe octopuses are the most intelligent.
Octopuses are... you said that right. They are octopuses.
Yep.
They're not octopi. It's a
Greek
and Latin derivative. That's
like
right.
That. But then dolphins. I mean, they're extremely intelligent, and they have feelings. And so when they go through the slaughter process in Taiji, they also go through it in the Faroe Islands. It's a rite of I don't know if you've ever heard of this called the grind in the Faroe Islands. So the Faroese will go out. It's a rite of passage.
The grind in the Faroe.
The grind.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll go out. Like I think that they start at like 17 years old, and these young men will go out and they will slaughter these pilot whales for the meat. I mean, they do consume the meat, but it's a rite of passage. It's part of their culture, but it's incredibly inhumane. Like it's something that should not be happening, but happens to this day. And it's like just a sea. I mean, I've seen so many videos about it. It's horrific. There's just a sea of red.
Wow.
And you hear the whales screaming because they're being slaughtered. And it's not as if they're killed immediately. It's not as if, when they kill like I don't know, cows or pigs or whatever,
And not always.
Not always is right.
Yeah.
I'm a vegetarian /
Okay.
close to being vegan.
Okay.
But yeah, no, they try to at least do it in a humane way. With this, they don't. They suffer for sure. And their family members see this. Hear it. Yeah. And
like that, I think it was elephant. They played a recording of an elephant. You heard about that?
Yeah.
It was a baby elephant or just a mother or something.
I think it was a baby elephant.
Baby elephant that had died and it was crying, and they recorded it. And this is the only time that they've ever done it. And they played it back like years later or months later or something for the family. And the family for like 2 weeks was like searching, thinking that the baby was still alive somewhere. Yeah. And no one has replicated the study because they were trying to figure out whether they would remember or whether they would search, and they did. And it's that's not something that should be.
No, and there are sounds that dolphins make to communicate with one another that are very sophisticated. And when those types of traumatic events are happening, they are communicating with one another and telling, like, I'm in distress. So if a mother is being slaughtered, her babies know.
Yeah. Our brains can't understand those sound frequencies at all.
No, they can't.
I read a book called Of Orcas and Men recently.
Oh, okay.
And part of the description
so
of how they speak to each other, right? Their brains are massive, but they're different. They're shaped differently than ours, right? So when you're sitting in a car and you turn on the radio and you move, well, we don't see it as a dial anymore, but when you move the dial and you move it through the different frequencies of FM radio or AM radio, you're connecting to that vibration of radio waves, right?
Right.
And once you hit a certain dial, a certain frequency, you receive music, talk radio, all of these different sounds, okay? Right. Now imagine dolphins speaking to each other with pitches, and when it hits their brain, they get all the information like a song, like a talk, and we just don't know what they're saying.
Yep. I did talk to these guys. I forget where they were. Maybe they were in the Pacific Ocean, but they were developing sound frequency to be able to let the pilot whales and the dolphins know if a ship was coming in.
Whoa.
With the sound frequency that they were, I don't know how they were developing, but it was really cool and really like way out of my league. I was like, I did like a Skype session with them for that month, and I was just like, they were totally cool. They were like on the boat. I was like, I don't know anything about this.
But keep talking to me. I love it.
This is amazing. Yeah. I think that's another reason why I did it. It's just a thirst for knowledge. I become really interested in things. Yeah. And that's the only way you can find out what you really have a passion for.
And what you enjoy doing. Absolutely. You're right.
Yeah.
So I remember some things from our initial meetup, and
do you still have that video?
I absolutely do. It was a short 5-minute video, 6-minute video. No, I'm not burning it. It's in my computer. Not burning the computer. So please tell me, what is active activism?
I think active activism is, that stemmed from me saying that in opposition to the people that I think are armchair activists.
Okay.
And that they sit behind their computer and they'll spew out a bunch of, oh yeah, I agree with that, or I'll sign this petition and I've done my part. Nah, you haven't done your part. There's so much more to do. I think active activism too is not just donating money. A lot of people feel like, oh, well, I'm just going to write a check. It's really getting in the trenches and helping. So, yeah, that's active activism.
And what about advocating for advocacy?
So advocating for advocacy, these are all kind of like, now in retrospect, why did I say that? I like the active activism. Advocating for advocacy, I would say, again, it really is talking to people about becoming involved in different causes. I mean, I think there's a lot of people, at least that I talk to, that have no desire to volunteer, no desire to go to a protest, no desire to go to anything. They're happy and content to do what they want day to day. And they don't realize that in their own myopic view that there's all this other world out there and that they could actually help. So I hope that I'm advocating for advocacy. By just talking about my own philanthropic work. And I'm not saying, I mean, my job is fundraising. Mm-hmm. Money's really important, crucially important, but there's a lot behind that check too.
Right. There's a lot of
that will feed
purpose.
Your soul too.
Yeah, purpose behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when you're that person in the cubicle working very hard, 9 to 5, punching in numbers or doing whatever you're doing, it's not fulfilling at all.
No, not at all. No, you have to have a passion again for something. Otherwise, why?
I think part of that also comes from traveling, right?
Oh, I love travel.
Being able to see, and we don't have to say travel and like travel for expensive places in Europe. It could be a really inexpensive place in South America or in Asia, even going to Africa, just to see a different culture and then to come back to your own and be like, we are in a bubble.
Oh, yeah.
And this bubble is going to pop one way or another. So it's better if
definitely.
you just walk outside of it and pop it yourself.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. I think I told you that I was supposed to go to Nicaragua. Did I tell you
Yes,
this?
I think you did,
And then the
yes.
trip was canceled, which is so disappointing because of all the political unrest that's going on
Right.
there
And
now.
it's on hold.
It's on. I think
what
it's.
did it say?
I think on hold. I think
yeah.
it's canceled.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was July 27th, which is total bummer. But I think that back to just like exploring different areas. I mean, even in Florida, when I was volunteering for that youth ministry, there was a housing project that I would go to and like color with the kids, that kind of thing, read to them. But I honestly, no joke, have never seen that kind of abject poverty before. And I've lived in New York City, my entire adult life.
Right.
It was shocking and disturbing. And one of the kids that broke my heart was like maybe 8 years old. She was like, at night we hear the pop, 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 pop. And it was gunshots. And I'm like, yeah, no, they really did.
Wow.
Yep. And it's crazy because I don't think you recognize it as much in New York City because you have these like incredible high-rise buildings that have wealthy people living in them, and then they're next to a housing project.
Right.
In Florida, it was just so much more, I don't know how to describe it. It's like you go over that bridge from Palm Beach to West Palm, and then you go into this place where that housing project was in Riviera Beach, which is an extremely dangerous area. And it really was like in your face, like, wow. I mean, wow.
How far is Palm Beach from Daytona off the top of your head? Do you think you know?
I don't know. It's not that close.
Yeah. Because in Daytona...
Because Daytona is further north, right?
It's in the middle, yeah.
Yeah.
Just east of Orlando.
Okay, so probably like 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. Because where I was living, too, I wouldn't call it the projects, or maybe a ghetto of sorts. Just lower income area where I was living. And there were opportunities for me to volunteer through the school and going to read for the elementary school in the local area. I almost didn't feel welcomed. Not at the elementary school itself, but driving to get there.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. I think there's definitely a racial divide, too, in the South that holds strong. There's definitely a lot of hesitation. I'm a white woman. I'm driving up to this housing project. Like, there was a lot of people there that were like, we don't want
What are you
to
doing
with
here?
You. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're suspicious, and rightly so. I mean, when I was in Florida there, I forget the name of the town, Belgrade.
Okay.
Extremely dangerous area of Florida. And there was a kid, he was driving his car. I think he was like smoking a joint, threw it out the window. Cop pulls him over. He's with his girlfriend. He goes to get out of the car and the cop shoots him.
No way.
Dead. And it happens all the time there. All the time. All the time. So I think they're rightly suspect sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I think their motivation comes into question.
Yeah. Being defensive and protective can be a good thing at times,
Going back to the Native Americans, for sure, when I was doing research for my thesis, when I went to go talk to this Native American poet, Joy Harjo, and she's pretty well known. She's amazing. She was really kind of like, why are you writing about Native American literature? She didn't say that, but she was somewhat hostile.
Right.
Kind of like, why are, it's upsetting, but you understand.
Absolutely. Time and time.
And you have to respect it.
You have to.
And you can't be defensive, too.
No.
Like, I really wanted to be like, especially to some of the moms in that housing project, I wanted to be like, you know what? I could be at the beach right now. I'm trying to help your kid learn how to spell, how to, do this math project so you can go to school. You can't
do that, though, because then it's your ego getting in the way of trying to.
It's so true. It's just your ego. So you have to just.
It's okay,
silence
right?
it.
I'm here to help, so let me help.
And try to sympathize.
Yeah.
Because I certainly could not empathize with those people at all. I can't. I have no idea what it would be like to live like that. Certainly feel bad, but
to know.
I've never felt like that before.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't.
I mean, you could, but hopefully you don't. And you don't right now.
I don't right now, and I don't know if I ever could because I didn't grow up like that.
Right.
I think those people live in that housing project and they're generations and they can't get out. It's just a cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, like in that Belgrade area, I think James Patterson did a documentary on it because they have a good football team, and that's the only way they get out. It was a shitty documentary, too. I was like, God, with all his money, but I think that he saw that there was a need to call attention to that area and how it really was just, it's horrible there. It's kind of like a Compton, California type of place. But it was a terrible documentary.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Me too. Yeah. Love a good documentary. Thought I was going to be in one.
Oh, man. So, yes, that documentary will not be happening, unfortunately.
Yes, so I've heard.
Yeah. Don't mean to disappoint.
This is the floor.
Yeah, this is the short documentary that my friends and I were going out to Standing Rock to film. And we did film, but building the actual documentary itself takes more work than we anticipated.
Yes.
And I cannot do it alone.
Yes, I understand that.
But
time and money.
So your first protest, where was it and what was it?
My first the first one that I ever organized?
Forget about organized. Went to, right?
Such a good question. I don't know. I always felt like I was like falling into them in the city.
Okay. Did you grow up in the city?
No, I grew up on Long Island.
Okay.
And then I moved to the city when I was 21, 20, right after my master's.
Okay.
Like living full time. First, that's such a good question. I don't know. I always felt like I was part of whatever disenfranchised. Like, yeah. I don't know what the first was. That's a good question.
What would you say is your most memorable one?
This one.
This
the
one?
DAPL one, yeah. Because I really did not expect the turnout. I didn't expect the turnout, and I didn't expect the energy around it. I mean, I still talk to people that I met that day.
Really?
Hello?
I mean, me being one of them.
Yes. Yeah. I met a guy there. I got him a job. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. 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 So it was really nice. I think that one was really nice for me in that it was thought out, but not well thought out. It was more spontaneous, and I want to do something, and let me just try to do something. And then this incredible group of people got together, and I thought it was like just amazing. But there were all these people that I had no idea felt the same way.
That you do.
Yeah.
And you don't know unless you speak to them.
Right.
So let's talk about anxiety then.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So part of being anxious in general is not knowing that other people feel the same way that you do.
Right.
I am prone to anxiety, although I might not come off as it because I like to be extroverted and make people feel good. And in the meantime of making other people feel good, I'm like, holy shit, like, please don't like laugh at me or like, and when they do, I'm like, ha ha, like I'll laugh along, but it's,
you're like,
I'm a little embarrassed.
Inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does anxiety play into organizing a protest and having a showing?
Yeah. So when I was 25, I had my first panic attack.
Okay.
And I'm 44 now. And for, I'd say, a good 3 years, I felt completely incapacitated by it. I felt like it was hard for me to be in social situations. And this is coming from somebody that beforehand was like out every night, hang out with my friends. I still did that, but I felt like I needed the crutch of alcohol or whatever it may be to actually go and feel normal. And 3 years went by, and I was like, you know what? I need to make a change because this anxiety, it's not going away. I thought eventually, like, oh, I'm 25. Maybe it's just that time. My mom had anxiety. My sister has anxiety or like panic attacks. I guess I need to live with this and let it come through me and not focus so much on it. And if I don't have anything else to focus on, I'm going to focus in on the anxiety.
Right. Because
I can become obsessive about things, and I was obsessed about the anxiety. I was reading everything about it, everything about panic attacks. I'd be having a conversation with you right now. In the back of my mind, I'd be like, oh my God, I hope that I don't freak out. But if I need to leave, what excuse could I make? I could say to him, oh, my apartment's on fire. Like that is the way an anxious mind thinks. A lot of people that I've met and talked to that have anxiety they're highly intelligent, of course.
Overthinking things.
They overthink things. I mean, if that's why I love the expression ignorance is bliss, because it is. Because if you don't know,
you don't care.
You don't care.
Yeah.
You don't care. So in any event, so I just started to like try to find ways that I could channel it. And I've only had like really 3 panic attacks, like true panic attacks where you feel like you're having a heart attack and dying.
First one happened at 25.
First one happened at 25. I was in a cab with my boss at the time, and we were going out to dinner, and we were stopped in traffic. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, like I'm getting cold but hot at the same time. I'm like sweaty and my hands started to shake. And I was like, what? And then you feel like kind of a depersonalization, like you're out of your body. It's just a terrible feeling. And you do think you're having a heart attack and you're going to die. And what does anybody that at 25 do when that happens? I'm like, yeah, I'm out for dinner. Not, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. I'm like, you know what? I'm not feeling well. I think I need to go home. I'm not going to dinner. And I went to my apartment and I downed like 5 Jack Daniels and passed out.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because I was freaked out. I was like, what the hell is
that
going
work?
on? Oh, yeah. And then, And then alcohol, though, for those next 3 years did become a crutch for me.
Okay.
It's the only thing that I could do to make myself go out and feel normal. The next morning, however, the anxiety would be tenfold. So I just eventually was like, yeah, I'm not drinking anymore. And I think that's helped anxiety for sure.
Do you drink at all anymore?
Never.
No.
Nope.
Okay. Well, not
No.
never, but.
No, never. I don't.
Oh, no, I meant not never as in you never have. But okay, so you're not drinking anymore. Yes. I track.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So when was the second panic attack?
Second panic attack was, all the 3 of those were in the same year.
Okay.
My 25th year. I think it was maybe like 3 months later. I was out to dinner with my friend. Everything was fine. Had a few drinks. Just out of the blue. No reason. And that is panic. And that's what's really freaking scary about it, because you could think like, oh, I'm totally fine. And then just like that. You're not totally fine, though, because months of anxiety and stress have built up. It's fight or flight.
Right.
It comes out.
Yeah.
But now I've learned how to, if I do start to feel anxious like that, I know what it is. And I'm just like, okay, whatever.
What do you do? What are like the mental exercises?
Distraction.
Okay.
Totally distraction. Like I'm afraid to fly, but
Okay.
I travel a lot and I refuse not to travel. Like that's for me, like why?
Right.
I could be eating Chinese in my apartment or I could be in Rome. I think I'm going to go to Rome.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't want to fly, but I'll do like word searches. I listen to music a lot to distract myself.
Okay.
A lot. So things like that, just to take your mind off of it. But I also tried to help others, because coming out of yourself gets rid of that anxiety, because you're not so focused in on, oh my God, what am I talking about? Am I making a fool of myself? Is this person looking at me? Are they judging me? Am I being an idiot? Am I,
Right.
It's like a hamster wheel of negativity that goes on in your mind. But at the end of the day, like, I love that Bon Iver lyric, I realize like I'm not that magnificent, and you're not.
Right.
You're just like, you're not. So just get over yourself. And then when you get over yourself, you get over the anxiety. But physiologically, it does happen.
You can't stop that.
No, yeah, you can't.
Yeah. Those are
You can't.
natural reactions.
I think I think people that are prone to anxiety, and once they do have that anxiety, it's hard. You're just going to have to live with it for the rest of your life. And you could let it defeat you, or you could let it just be
Rise
part
above the challenge.
of you.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have difficulty coming to that conclusion.
It's,
And not everyone is willing to, let's say, give up alcohol or give up their substance of crutch or, whatever's helping them get through their issues. But being able to talk about it, like the podcast, is it lets other people who have the same issues go, oh shit, there's another person, right?
Yeah, I hate that expression, but you're not alone.
You're not.
You're not. It's
and being magnificent, right? One in a billion or one in whatever. You don't really want to be that, because when you are that, your stress is like forever.
No.
It's like being Elon Musk, and like everyone either hates him or loves him, and the amount of things that depend on him waking up and doing
too much.
It's too much.
But it's for him.
That's right.
Not for me.
Some people like that. Most people don't.
No, I don't like that.
Yeah.
No.
You don't need that.
No. But I am like you in that a lot of people will say to me, oh, you're not shy. Like, you're kind of introverted. But I'm not inside. Outside, I could be, throwing a rally, and I'm a fundraiser, and I'm going to all these events, and no. I mean, socially, I don't want to go out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would rather be at home reading a book. Like, I would gladly sit by the ocean alone for months on end, just reading with my music. Totally a loner. But you do need to. I think that solitude can sometimes feed anxiety, and you need to get out there. You definitely do. I could see how people that are depressed or have anxiety don't want to do that, but I think it makes it worse.
I think part of being depressed or wanting to be alone is okay for a recuperation period.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to realize when the recuperation period is done, and now you're just, what's the term? Basking in your
glory.
No, not.
Wallowing in
wallowing.
Yeah.
They're basking, wallowing.
Yeah, totally different. Yeah. But okay.
Where you're wallowing in your self-pity.
Right.
And you have to realize, like, okay, like I do need a little bit of help. I've tried to by myself kind of rejuvenate, and I'm not there. Let me reach out.
Yeah, and sometimes you do need people to give you a swift kick in the ass, if you're not able to do it yourself. When I stopped drinking, I vividly remember...
Did you make that choice yourself?
I made it, not consciously, that I didn't wake up and say to myself, I am never going to drink again. Never, ever, ever did I do that. Mm-hmm. I had a Christmas party. I woke up the next day, and I was talking to a friend that I worked with, and he was like, oh, thanks so much for... His girlfriend had left her wallet at my apartment, and apparently they came back to get it, and I gave her the wallet, and I didn't remember. And I was like, oh, God, that's not good. Like, I'm not going to drink for a while. Plus, it's making me totally anxious. Like, in the next, recovering from a night of drinking the next day for me was really tough, because the anxiety would really kick in, because I would be like feeling physically terrible. I never had a big tolerance for alcohol, but I thought that I did.
Don't we all?
Yeah, I'm like, Maker's Mark. Yeah, of course, I'll take 20 of those and smoke a pack of cigarettes. Not a problem. Not a good idea. But then you start to think to yourself, okay, I wasn't in... It's all about control, too. Mm-hmm. I wasn't in control last night. What did I do last night? Who was I talking to? Oh, my God, did I make an absolute jackass out of myself? And then that hamster wheel is going on and on and on. And so anyway, after that party, I was like, I'm going to give this a break for a little while. And I never drank again.
Wow.
And that was in 2002.
Wow.
Yeah. But leading up to that, like, I had started to drink a lot more. I think 9/11 happened, and the anxiety there was not the best.
Were you living in the city at the time?
Yeah. Yep.
Did you go out and try and help other people?
So at the time, the person I was dating lived in Alphabet City, and we both wanted to go out and help, but they were like, we do not want you here. Like, we have too many people here. You're like a liability. For me. For him, he went and did some ministry stuff.
Wait, who told you you're a liability?
A lot of the firefighters, actually, in the bars. Yeah, they were like, we don't need you to, like...
Interesting.
Yeah,
would you call that sexist?
I was probably sexist, and I was probably, a couple in, and they're like, we don't need you.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
When you hire a moving company, would you want women or men?
I mean, I never thought of it. I just want somebody to do the job right. Mm-hmm. And so we moved 5 times in 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great person to ask that question
Yeah,
to
it's
then, right?
excellent. And a horrible question because when we first moved down to Florida, my husband had hired this company that, I mean, our furniture was trashed when it got there. So I don't not like a lot of these moving companies. But back to the gender thing, I don't really care as long as you do the job. But those 5 times that we moved, I did all of the packing, all of the yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like manual labor. Like,
Yeah.
I do.
You wanted to help out.
Exactly. Wait, why'd you ask that?
So I was just listening to a podcast, and it was brought up that when you talk about different positions and you talk about sexism in general, if I have a manually a very heavy labor job, like moving couches and moving big pieces of furniture that are very heavy,
It's always men.
I would prefer, whether it's a man or a woman, I want them to be able to lift it. I want
Right.
them to be able to move it.
Yeah.
It so happens that moving companies are mostly men, and they might be big, brawly, strong guys. So if I happen to come across a company with a big, strong, brawly woman, would I hire her? Yeah. But I wouldn't go out and be like, I want a woman to move my house. So when it comes to those firefighters, the reason why I asked you that is because maybe they look at you and they go, all right, well, will this woman be able to, and you're not to downplay your physical stature or anything, you don't look like you can lift like tons of weight.
What? I'll have you know. I can lift at least 12 pounds.
So maybe they looked at you and they were like, okay, we're glad you wanted to help out, but maybe we have to lift a car or something.
Yeah.
Just
No, I mean, I
hypotheticals.
think, and I think it was also a lot of the men at the time. How old was I? I don't remember. I'm in my late 20s. They were kind of like, look, this is some serious shit. You do not want to be down there. You don't want to be breathing in this stuff. And I probably would have been a liability. Like, what the hell am I going to do?
I think even me.
And they didn't want him there
granted,
either.
I was a child at the time.
I was like, were you even born?
No, I definitely was.
Okay, all right.
I was a child at the time. But yeah, even if I was me now, there was thousands of policemen, firefighters,
And these
construction guys.
guys,
They know what they're doing.
They know what exactly.
They know what to touch,
what they're
what you can't
doing.
touch.
It's very sensitive in that. First of all, it's a horrific situation to begin with, but for them, they lost people, a ton of people that do what they're doing, which is
They want to be there, and
they want to be there. It's a brotherhood, a sisterhood, whatever it is. But they were just like, nah, get out of here. And I often wonder, like, a lot of the times, like, those guys that we were having beers with, those firefighters, and also they were probably so sleep deprived. You know, they were working like crazy shifts. Like, but anyway, I often wonder, like, whatever happened to them, you know, like, are they alive?
They could be. They could.
But it could not be.
I know that a lot of the first responders who were down there and breathing in those dust
died
and the
of
fumes,
cancer.
they did. Yeah, a lot of them got cancer.
I remember, I mean, I lived on 92nd in York, so we were right on the East River, and watching like the plume of smoke just come up the river. It was crazy. And then going to Alphabet City and like sitting outside, and at the time I smoked. And
Did you walk there?
I might have. I don't remember. I might have. I don't remember.
Because I know all the bridges and tunnels closed down.
They did at the time. Thankfully I worked on 74th and Madison, and so I just walked home, and I was on 92nd in New York, which was not a big walk at all.
Right. 92nd to Alphabet City.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it was awful. So we smoked at the time, and we'd be outside smoking because didn't want to smoke in the apartment.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Which now I'm like, oh my God, but it's horrible to say, but the air, it was horrible.
It felt like a cigarette.
Very chemical, like, taste and smell in the air.
And then you went outside for a cigarette.
Yeah. As I took a drag. Yeah, but then
which air was better, the cigarette or the outside?
Yeah, but I would walk by NYU Hospital, and it was heartbreaking. There'd be people outside like, I'm looking for so and so, and
oh man,
awful. Crazy though that my dad worked in the Trade Center. He wasn't working then. For years he was there for the bombing. My cousin was working in the Trade Center when that happened. I didn't know one person that passed away.
Wow.
But we were talking
Lucky.
earlier about my friend that just so happened to be at the Bataclan in Paris at the Eagles of Death Metal concert, and just so happened to be one of the, I mean, they're the only people that I knew in Paris and know in Paris. They just so happened to, or he just so happened to be one of the 89 that were killed. What are the odds of that? It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't think the odds are as low as we think they are, or hope that they are, right? Lots of shootings have been going on, and for another time, we'll come back to that.
Yes.
No.
On a positive note.
Yeah. What would be some tips and some advice you would leave to, let's say, a younger you, right?
It's a good question. So many good questions.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I did some research, as you can see by my notes.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, they're
We didn't even talk
extensive
about
notes.
that stuff.
I think, as I said earlier, like that lyric, "You're not that magnificent," to really just kind of set aside your ego, set aside all of that, and find what innately makes you happy, because unless you're happy, you're never going to make anybody else happy. Your own happiness, I think, is the most important thing in life. I do. And if you want to be, ready, wait for it,
Okay.
an activist, get out there, because it really will light a fire if you so choose it to. I mean, they're living in New York City. There's always something going on.
Right.
Just step in. If you don't like it, step out. But
Yeah.
at least you'll like gain some knowledge, and there's a lot out there that you have no idea about. So I can't stand when people are like, "I'm so bored." I'm like, no, come on.
You're
Read a
boring.
book.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think our society now is kind of boring in that it's so focused in on you presenting yourself a certain way and living a certain lifestyle. And this is what you really should be doing according to society. But at the end of the day, that's all bullshit and smoke and mirrors. And it means it's so empty. But I think your generation and the generation behind you, unfortunately, that is what makes up your self-worth. And it's really sad. It's taken away this like humane element, I think.
I will agree with you. I think that we're part of the same generation, first of all.
No.
And
Not really.
And second of all, yeah, I mean, that's what social media is, right? It's throwing up your best face and saying to everyone, look how great my life is, or look how successful I am, without showing any of the failure, without showing any of the difficulties that you have to work through, and saying like, yeah, the powerful and successful life is easy. And then people try and go for it, and they're like, well, shit, why can't I get it as fast as him? Well,
Right.
he didn't get it in a day. You're just seeing one picture of a day. You don't see the years before that of hard work.
Yeah, and that, 1% that you're seeing is not the general population. The general population doesn't look like a Kardashian. They also don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend on themselves,
Right.
And
get butt implants. Or lip injections.
Yeah, which I kind of would love to do. But anyway, I'm all for that kind of thing. Whatever makes you happy, and sometimes that will fill someone's self-worth. If you, and I think it's true. Like if you look good, or if you think you look good, you feel good.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's important, that you should get dressed in the morning and all that. But but people's lives are not in reality like that. I mean, there's a reason why these companies have created filters.
Yeah.
Nobody has that kind of skin. Nobody has that, as you pointed out, the buttocks. That's like enormous. That's not natural.
Oh, by the way,
It's
I don't
now
think it looks good either.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There's like cellulite and whatnot. It's just.
Really?
I mean, like,
I
it's
think
not
men-
natural. It's not.
I don't know. I talked to different guys, and some guys are like all about that. They don't care where it came from. All about like the hair extensions and the
It shows
fake and fake and fake.
Innate ancestral. It makes you think that this woman, right, is curvaceous. Okay, she can bear children. Long hair, she must be healthy,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Fair
That's
skin,
so
like
true.
she's young. And,
Anthropologically,
right,
yes.
absolutely. So you are innately attracted to that. I get it. But then it gets
It's a
blown.
primal thing.
It gets blown up in our society and in our culture of well, check it out, I'm even wider, or my skin is even better, or whatever it might be.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't know. I'm like the type of person that's like, oh my God, you have a scar? You're so hot. Like, I can't stand that, like, cookie cutter.
Right. Too perfect.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that I've talked to in my life I've met a lot of celebrities and models, and they're all really good looking people, but if there's no substance behind it, they very quickly for me become unattractive. And yet there'll be somebody in the room that conventionally will not be good looking, but there's something about that person that makes them infinitely more attractive than the model.
Yeah. Tips for the guys out there: be yourself.
That's right.
Yeah. Do you have any other plugs that you'd like to give? Maybe do you have an upcoming protest that you're organizing? Someone could go and join.
I don't, but I think I need to. This is like sparked renewed interest in finding something.
Cool,
we were talking about that new pipeline in Louisiana. Maybe I'll go down there.
Yeah.
My Nicaragua trip
you know
was
what?
canceled.
I actually have some information
Anything
on
going
that.
on? I just went to the Pride Parade, which was so amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, I thought it was so fabulous.
Yeah.
It really was.
Magnificent.
Yeah. It was just to see how society has changed in my lifetime really is amazing. It like makes me want to cry. It really does. It's so like the acceptance is there now. And like we were talking to, I went with a friend of mine that's gay, and then we met up with another friend of mine that I work with who's also gay, man and woman. And she's 25, he's 40. And just talking about how much has changed, like her generation, I mean, I think has seen a little bit of it, but it's so much more acceptable now. It's crazy.
It is.
And it's so great. I love it. I grew up Catholic, so I don't know. There's a whole...
I mean, not to call out your parents or anything, but are they or were they accepting of gays?
I think my parents are kind of liberal in that way. Definitely my dad is liberal. Yeah. But again, I mean, they are Catholic, and the Catholic Church condemned homosexuality. It's I'm not Catholic anymore.
Very interesting. Are you atheist, agnostic?
Again, like the Native American thing, I really believe in spiritual. So I brought my tarot cards to read for you.
Cool. Yeah, we're gonna do that once this is over.
I believe that. It's funny. I've been talking a lot about this lately and exploring the paranormal, psychic, things. I'm going to be buying a book soon because I have such a habit of buying too many books and not reading them all. Oh my God.
So there's a book that's on my Amazon standby list. I'll share it with you after. It's like a spiritual book and like paranormal and
I'm like all into that now and shamanism.
Yeah, I got like 5 books on hold. Yeah,
I know.
Absolutely.
Have you read Ways of the Shaman?
No, I have not.
Really good. Okay. Anyway, after the podcast. Oh yeah, now I got crystals along my windowsill.
Oh man.
Anyway, So spiritual for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and I definitely believe in nature and the power of that as a spirit. Yeah.
So really,
I was talking about afterlife. But anyway,
it's okay. So DAPL connects to the Energy Transfer Crude Oil Pipeline. Okay, and that ends in Texas. That's one that goes through Louisiana. Or no, it doesn't. That's not even close to Louisiana. Excuse my geography.
That's okay.
But that pipeline did have a much bigger spill in the thousands. So there are pipelines that are spilling all over the place, and there's room to be active.
Yep.
There's room to be active.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I'm going to be now up all night looking this up. I'm like planning on another rally.
Do you want anyone to have a way to reach out to you? What would be like a plug for yourself?
Sure. I mean, anyone that's interested in anything that we talked about or was interested in throwing some kind of rally, I'm totally down for that. They could just email me.
What's your email?
Jennifer A as an apple, and my last name's Cherney, Cherney @gmail.
Cool. .com.
Oh, come on. Nobody says the .com. Kids.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me for another episode. Oh, that was actually my pitch out. But you know what? Thank you, Jennifer, for joining me. Because I should have done that first. Excuse me. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're
I really
more
appreciate
than
it.
welcome. Thank you.
And to everyone else, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Disconnection Podcast, where we aim to inform, inspire, and close the disconnections in your life. You can listen to us on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Disconnection.